Hi, everyone. Welcome to Oculus Connect 2. I'm pleased to announce two awesome guys from CCP Shanghai. One is the executive producer, Jean-Charles Gaudechon. I said it right. Or you can call him JC. He goes by that, too. The other is Kevin Liu. And please welcome them.
You go like that. You turn around.
Yeah.
There you go. That's the only time you'll see it, so that's why we kind of went for it. Okay, so I'm JC Gaudechon indeed. Working in North America for too long, I kind of, redeemed my former French name. And on top of being EP for that game, had the chance to also run a studio in Shanghai for CCP Games, as I said, the studio that built Gunjack. And this is Kevin.
Thanks, JC. My name is Kevin Liu. It's a great honor to be here. First, I want to apologize because the jet lag probably will bring up my Chinese accent sooner or later. So just a little bit of background about myself. I'm the senior producer of the project with a background of doing art direction. And so the music development has been my main focus on the project.
So Kevin and I are here today to share our learnings building Gunjack over the past 8 months, which is basically a video game based on the EVE universe. It's an arcade shooter which has been built from the ground up for the Gear VR platform, which is kind of what we'll talk about. But before jumping in, we thought that the best would be to show you a trailer of the game, so you actually get to see what we're talking about. It's probably a lot better.
Look alive, 8. Sensor buoys are tracking multiple craft in your sector. The turret is calibrated to react to your head movement. Let's show these pirates they picked the wrong mining operation to mess with. Remember, stay calm, pick your targets, and most importantly, kill them all.
All right. Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the team. So what was really important for us was to make a full fleshed out game from A to Z on that platform and see how much we could, how much content we could pack in it. So just briefly about the platform itself. This is the Innovator Edition 2 and the S6, which was our SKU lead, the Samsung S6, which were our lead SKU, sorry. And that's basically kind of what framed, of course, our existence over the past 8 months, trying to make, Gunjack for this platform. We also made another important decision at the time, was to go with Unreal Engine 4, which proved to be a good decision because it really helped us kind of get going fast and proved to be a good engine for the mobile platform. So that was really good. And basically, we lived in that ecosystem, fun ecosystem with Oculus, Samsung, Epic, and ourselves. But actually, all that worked really well.
Yeah, I mean, a year ago, when we received the first dev kit, we were really amazed by the quality of the hardware, from the kind of mobility, easy to share with friends, the screen resolution, it's cable free. You don't really need to worry about the cables, and also even just small things, you'd be able to adjust your focus. For people like me wearing glasses, it's a huge win. So after trying a couple of demos and 360 videos, we really think this is gonna be the future. And the team was really passionate about we should make our own game for the VR from ground up.
So yeah, I mean, the idea was to see how far we could push it. As simple as that, which is a pretty good goal. But we said, okay, we won't, stand on the side. We'll just try to go, in the universe we know, which is EVE Online, but at the same time, kind of make it a full-fleshed out game. And we believe very much at the time that a true, high-quality experience would have to be done from the ground up for the platform. So that's basically what we've done. So starting a little bit with the design and the creative process. So we had two mantras throughout development: accessibility and immersion. So a lot of you will be, yeah, duh. We talked about this quite a bit, but actually it's not that simple. Accessibility, why? Because of course, mobile to us meant anyone can play anytime, anywhere. That's really, really important, but also drives, or had to drive, a lot of our design decisions, knowing that you had the pad on the side, and a joystick, of course, which we support, a controller, but it was really important that it felt really natural as being a game on mobile. So that was number one. Number two was immersion. And probably a better concept that you've heard quite a bit lately, which is presence. And presence, indeed, ended up being the most important thing about building this game. We're video game makers. Gameplay is really important, that type of stuff. But here was extremely important is to kind of have that, sense of presence. So you probably heard a few definition of it, but kind of for us, it's or the definition you probably heard before was kind of it's low-level systems of the brain which are tricked to such an extent that they react as they should or as they would in non-virtual stimuli. So basically, you trick the brain. And what was important for us in this case is when we do a video game, compared to like a movie or when you kind of stand back and enjoy, interaction, the fact that you need to do things in there can pull you out of that immersion or presence for that matter anytime. So it was really important that every single day we thought about this, we try a lot, and we've used that kid, which was an awesome kid. Well, we've used that kid. Sounds weird. But at the same time, the idea is that we have at CCP kind of a player gathering every year, and we had a chance to put an early build, on that kid's face to kind of see how he felt. The body language is actually really funny because he started losing kind of maybe that he had a body, I don't know, but it was kind of really playing. And at that time we said, okay, then here's what we're going to do. If when someone plays the game, at one point is like, so how am I supposed to do this again? Like, fail. Huge fail. It's like we need to control in some ways or make it so natural, including the interaction, that someone will stay in there until we decide, for whatever reason, that it's the end of a play session and stuff like that. Or that the phone is melting on your face. Not true. The phone's actually handling really well, overheat. So there are a lot of examples for us of that in the game, of kind of ways which are even outside gameplay to make you feel like you're part of it and don't really want or anything is pulling you out of that experience.
Yeah. So as just like now I'm trying to code like John Carmack. As John Carmack mentioned, like every Gear VR has been on 10 different people's head. So like sharing from day one is like key component, key part of the thinking to us. So we build up a lot of we're trying to identify a lot of these kind of moments in the gameplay session where we can put out the cinematic experience. So it's not only cool for the players, but also like it's a cool experience to share with family, with friends. Like that's how I share the game I make with my mom. So these are the kind of examples. The first one is our opening title. Like you see the asteroid field, and then like there's a big mining barge flying through your head. And the second one is the mission selection screen. You have all the cool surrounding of an industrial field. And once you click mission, then you have this platform like open up, and then the turret rising up from the platform. And that's like where player build up the user connection with what you can be fighting for in the battle. And the third one is what we call the boot up sequence. It's the place like emotionally we build up the player ready for battle. And this is the part like we started earlier, like in the process, but we didn't really know how the best way to do it. So there are so many iterations through the development process, and we finished the last. And the fourth one is the right before our boss fight, when you see this giant spaceship coming in and knocking down a mining station into pieces with all the debris thrown into your face.
EVE Online fans will know which ship it is. So we identified three main areas of design to kind of enhance that level of presence. Number one, be the center of the action. So again, you'd say, yeah, okay, I'm there and I'm doing everything. But same thing. So we have a good example. During development, we're looking at designing bonus missions and stuff like that. It's a good old arcade game. So the idea was to kind of keep that up also, like as bonus missions. And we had that mission where you're basically protecting or defending a convoy, kind of flying in front of you in an asteroid storm, and you need to protect it. we're like, okay, so we put it together quite fast, get a sense of it. And then we're like, okay, cool, I'm shooting and stuff. I'm like, well, that's kind of lame. Nothing's coming at me. I'm on the sideline. I'm just looking at the thing. So while it could actually be a really cool mode or something that you see in front of you or that you're witnessing in some ways or even acting, or you know, it's kind of lame, as simple as that, or at least in our game, of course. It's very all subjective, but that's basically the thing where we said, okay, then you really need to be in the center of it. We had also that saying things need to fly through your head. And we kept saying, things need to fly through your head. Not literally, but actually, speaking of literally, the second pillar is maintain focus. Again, so when you're in that, in that space, it's really easy to throw a bunch of stuff at you. HUD elements, indicators, stuff, and all. And there's two things. One, you get tired really quickly. I mean, just that's normal. Your eyes and stuff, it actually applies to many kind of entertainment media, including video games that we know quite well on any other platforms. But here, you got to be, it's an art about balancing that, what you can put in front of someone. Multi-layered UI and stuff like that actually kind of didn't work that well because, again, you kind of have too much things. It needs to be, again, natural. We go back to the present thing. If I'm like, OK, I'm supposed to understand what, and I'm like, OK, fail. Move on. Make a better experience. Do your homework. Come back. So that was number 2. Number 3 is pull the trigger. Again, kind of literally. It was really important for us to keep a physical link to the headset. So we looked into different ways of shooting, but it was really important for us to kind of shoot, and use the touchpad on the right-hand side or the right side of the hardware to keep that link and to basically, fire missiles or do whatever with it. Of course, we had to look into arm tiring and stuff like that, so we had to cater the experience, the length of sessions and stuff with that in mind. Also, not tapping. So you tap 3 times, you're like, ugh. But funny enough, people doing fitness, actually, they can't keep that arm that up. So I don't know. Maybe there's but whatever. That's not the biggest learning of that presentation. The idea was really kind of to use that and to like keep that physical link to it. Sometimes we're saying that Cyclops from the Marvel or whatever, he probably doesn't have to keep or kind of do that. But it was probably a way to keep that link. It's probably strong enough to kind of shoot at things like that. But we had that kind of, we used actually even Cyclops in some way, saying, OK, there's something cool about feeling and playing that way. So that inspired us, quite a lot. But when the player was shooting at things, as Kevin said, it was really important for us to push on all fronts. Art is, of course, in visuals, a front that, as you've seen, the trailer you've seen is all in-game stuff, by the way, so which is quite cool on mobile to know that you can push that for that early, or at least that's kind of what we're trying to convey today. But before, I'd like to remind from Paul Arden, in any creative process, what it takes to go through that. And you may feel quite shitty in the process, but hang in there, and then you're not alone, basically.
Yeah, with gel like I'm still stuck on number 4. So, throughout the development process, like we have a lot of playtests. We really want to hear players' feedback, and one of the common we received the most was this. Oh,
back.
Yeah. So, that has been the common motivating us a lot. That's the reason why we're pushing a lot on the video front. One is to live up to the standard of EVIP, and the other part is we really, as the whole team, not only just the artists, but also engineering team, design team, we're all quite visual driven. So we really want to see how far we can push it.
One thing before we clicked both at the same time, as you could see, it was clearly written, holy shit, this is on a phone. So that was the moment. Oh, there you go, we're back. And it's gone. Okay.
Thank you.
See you.
So just to share a lot of couple learnings throughout the visual development. As you can see, this is the title screen. In this title screen, we have been heavily used Unreal Matinee to iterate on the timing and pacing, all the stuff, all the geometry here are static mesh, no skeletal mesh. And once we think we have a cool animation, not really making people feel dizzy, we then decided the biggest challenge came how we can make this whole thing fit into the budget. As you can see, the geometry is really complex. So we decided to cut the whole ship into a couple modules as a kind of a linear process. At the end of each module, there's going to be a door shutting down to cut the line of sight. So at that point, we kill the first module and load the next one. And by doing that, we show the scale of the ship, and also it's run pretty smoothly.
we've invented streaming. I'm kidding.
And also on the environment part, like we have been using the Unreal Scene Capture Cube to capture all the little details. Like the process we did was basically, since we have a lot of art assets, we put them together as a 3D concept, and then we do a proper lighting, fog, everything, and then like based on the view distance from the player, we decide which part we want to keep in 3D and which part we want to bake it in the job box, the backdrop, and then like use this function, bake a 2K by 4K texture with a lot of the kind of different channels and do the retouch in Photoshop. And also like a scene like this is the main menu. Since there are so many little details, 2K by 4K wasn't big enough. So like we kind of built a virtual camera system, like a lot of the 3D camera system right nowadays, to capture even bigger texture size in order to save all the details from the initial concept. And this is the boot up sequence. So as Oculus suggested, we pre-bake all the lighting. Like we also, like in the light map channel, like we do a lot of kind of rusty details to multiply on the diffuse texture. So you can see like the texture itself is pretty good. But still, like when the player plays through, we feel like the scene is too static. There's no kind of like emotion build up. So we decided like to add a kind of animated light map. That's when you have like the flickering light map having the kind of the emergency light to show the sense of emergency. And we also have been using the same trick for the front part of the cockpit to have the similar kind of like build up the emergency to show like not crapping everything into UI, but like putting things into the situation awareness. So there are a couple points to talk through on this one. First, as you can see, the mining station being knocked into pieces. The way we did it is basically to do the kind of physics simulation in 3D Max, having all the floating pieces like nailed it like in 3D Max, and then export it as a skeletal mesh with all the animation and put in the front loop of this boss fight entrance. And then like once we started the gameplay session, we killed the skeletal mesh. So the way we save the performance. And also the other part I want to talk about is like it's really hard to design a weapon for VR. I mean, like a lot of people have been working on first-person IPS games. You know how to design a game based on a 2D frame. But I mean, for VR, like it's really hard to keep the interesting silhouette with like proper lighting, everything, and not really blocking the gameplay. So this is the part like we have been spending a lot of time in matinee, like making 360 videos, like to try the weapon reload, everything, to make the concept proper. And also, I mean, since we pre-bake all the lightings, there was one thing we really missed is the specular as part of the material definition. So in the end, we decided like to keep one directional light in the scene, not only to give it the specular, but also kind of giving a little bit of color to the weapon, matching the skybox, the nebulous background. And also, like since you only have one directional light, the contrast was really high between the highlight and shadow part. So we also used matcap, which is pretty cheap for mobile, to even out the contrast, and also to bring back kind of the reflection feeling of the metal part.
So cheap means cool for mobile. Doesn't mean cheap like not good. So anyway, that's all nice and fun, but here comes a cold reality for you. 60 frames per second. And that's the maximum of what the hardware can do today, and it was extremely important for us to reach that. We had to settle to a little bit lower, which means being at 60 frames per second 90% of the time, which is the orange line behind us. That was the heartbeat. We call that every day like the heartbeat of the game, and we had to go there. And we talked about presence, the concept of presence. FPS has a huge role to play there, no question. We looked into different ways to optimize the game as much as possible. Time warp was, for instance, not an option for us really because we had so many things attached to your head. The VR, when you're actually looking and the whole thing's moving with you, it was actually a lot more difficult than some of what you guys have used there. But at least we kind of didn't. So basically, to get to 60 frames per second, it's fairly simple. Most of you already know that. But you need to finish each frame within 16.6 milliseconds. And that's basically divided in the game thread and the render thread. We promised to finish under 25 minutes, which is why we're trying to speak very fast. But again, YouTube, I think, allows you to replay, pause, and it's got a bunch of cool features. So on the game thread, first UE4 actually run pretty fast out of the box on mobile. So that was actually really good. And we ended up between 6 and 10 milliseconds 90% of the time on our lead SKU being the Samsung S6. But still, we had to hunt down quite a few things. First, reducing the number of ticking actors. We called it the kind of ticking actors, witch hunt. And that's basically even the empty ones, even the ones that don't. If they keep still ticking, of course, it's overhead and it's eating up some of your performance. Two was, of course, as anyone that kind of made games before and other things, it's our new systems. You're going to go, and we called it actually the IE, which is Chinese because we're in Shanghai, but basically the idea is that you come and you clean up your code, but that was basically one way in all front we could really get to that level on the game thread side. And last, well, Epic is currently working on being able to easily go conversion to C++ from blueprints to C++. We had to kind of manually take some of that out of blueprints, kind of the heavy logic, into the code to again eat up some of these milliseconds until we could get there. So, of course, on the engineering side, and actually the whole team, we'll talk about it just at the end, on the whole team, a lot of working together on an everyday struggle to, of course, make it work, but it's really, really rewarding. At least it was for us. On the render thread, we had to do even more. We ended up on between 8 and 12 milliseconds. If you can make the math, you'll see pretty much where we end up. But again, under 16.6 milliseconds. What we went on that is cut any other post-process, removing all the post-processes, sorry. Two, use a fairly cheap, again, cheap is good in our world, which went for tuple anti-aliasing method, which for us was the best bang for the buck. So again, telling you, frankly, the way we did this. As Kevin said, we used only one static light, and a lot of the lighting was kind of faked within materials. Again, I think something you should all think about, whether you have seen that presentation or not. We also had to dynamically batch some small objects, because, of course, draw calls is super expensive on this platform. Same thing for the draw order call. Control draw order. In French, it's a bit different, but I won't say it now. And then to reduce the number of pixels to render, so same thing. And even with all that, basically, we still had to go to some of the heavier assets and work them. So we make the art team cry a little bit there. No, it's not always the art team crying against people. Kind of, it's not the case, but it was kind of the team having to work together to get to that. I forgot the last point, which is consistency, but that's, of course, same thing. That's kind of a no-brainer. It is expensive to have, and you need to use we use lower resolution for translucent objects. I missed that one. So speaking of the team working together, I'm kind of going probably, and again, trying to go. We have 2 minutes to go. We're going as fast as we can, but we're packing as much as possible in there. It's about great people. And it's true, and we wouldn't kind of get away without having, talking about the team behind it, because it was a really, really good team, a good team spirit, and it started with a few people, mostly in front of you, but it was like we were 3 pretty much at the beginning. As I said, UE4 was kind of good to get us started and not needing too big of a team at the beginning, and then it grew to kind of around 12 people when we were including QA when we were picking during production. That said, we had to modify, kind of genetically modify the team so that they could think 24/7 in VR. So all meetings, everything was done with the set on their face. They were sleeping with it. They were, and only at that point you can get to the level, or the AAA level. So of course, yeah. So no. More importantly, it was a lot of fun to actually do that. But a great multicultural team, and again, kind of that came together really, really well. And as I would kind of finish on that point, I think, when it comes to the team, is that going into VR, and that's all of you are, all like that, and adventurers getting into kind of discovering new lands, is the team spirit was, or kind of the mindset was a lot more important than pure skills, I would say. And that's kind of what worked, really, really well when all that kind of came together. And that's exactly within 25 minutes. So we want to thank you for that
Thank you.
talk.